Alrighty, and let's see. Alright. So if you can hear me, my audio's not coming through when I mute you, so can you mute yourself? Perfect. Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday night, which means it's the Paul Report night. I am your host, Paul, and we have a show tonight that you actually might stick around for. My guest tonight will be Mark Scalia, very funny man, very talented man. The things he can do with the tongue, amazing. I mean, speaking and stuff. Don't get... All right. Hey, I fixed an error. Remember every week it was going to like this promo screen? Well, now it's not because this guy took the time to fix it. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Paul Report. I see already that Mary is in the chat. Mary, thank you for joining me this evening. I'm sure other people will follow now that you're here. Again, my guest coming up just in a few minutes will be Mark Scalia. Mark is a longtime friend. Funny man, a talented man. He's a he's a comic, he's an actor, he's a director, he's a playwright. He's so many things that we're going to go over all that today because this is what we call the Day in a Life episode, which is where the Beatles title came from. I read the news today, oh boy, which is from the song A Day in the Life. Didn't want you to think I was going to talk about news because, quite frankly, I can't. I can't talk about the news. And for many reasons, I can't talk about the news. But I am going to jump right in with a quick health update because I had a day, folks. I had a day. All right. What the hell happened there? There we go. I don't know what happened there. Oh, it's my other camera that came online. All right. Don't worry about that. So today, I had a doctor's appointment at my dermatologist. As everyone probably knows, I suffer from the psoriasis. Oh, my God. It's like itchy all over myself. Anyway, I've been seeing this dermatologist for a few years now. Wonderful lady, very smart, very in tune with what's going on with me and how to best treat me. So there's been a mark on me for several years now, but we've been keeping an eye on it. And today I went in and she's doing this all over body check and she looks at it and she's like, you know, that looks a little bigger than the last time you were here, which was a year ago. So I'm like, all right. So she goes to pull up the pictures from last year and she's like, yeah, this is definitely much bigger than it was the last time. I'm like, okay, so what do we do? She's like, well, I think I want to take it off. I'm like, okay. Now, I don't suffer from embarrassment very, very often anymore. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was in a hospital with my cancer back in 2021, there were so many people that came into my room when I was just wearing essentially a blanket and a half Johnny, and we just come in and say, well, let's take a look at that incision. And I lift it up, and I'm not wearing any pants, okay? I'm not wearing any underpants. I got a catheter in, and all my junk's just hanging out. And at first, it was like, hey, a little modesty, please. But after like the second day, I'm like, whatever, here you go. Get a good look. So I've sort of lost that modesty for the most part when in a medical scenario. So this skin thing is down there, okay? Somewhere in the nether regions, okay? Not quite there, but just north of that. So she's looking at it and she's trying to, get a read on it and looking at it and stuff. So she goes in with the scalpel. Oh, she numbs me up. She takes it off and puts it into a little jar, shows me. I go, look at this. And she's like, we got to take it out for a biopsy, see what the hell's up with it. So I'm like, okay, great. Coolio, I'm not thinking anything because I don't know. Not that I say I don't care, but I'm going to worry if there's something to worry about later. Okay, that's a future Paul problem, not a now Paul problem. I'm not going to care because, quite frankly, I've had so much stuff going on over the last several years that I'm like, all right, a little bit of skin cancer not going to fucking kill me. Okay, it could, but I'm thinking, you know what? It's not going to kill me. All right, so I'm okay. You're okay. We're all okay. So this thing got scraped off me. All good. Everything's fine. But what was humorous is that they take a picture of the area. And she says to me, now again, there's a nurse in there with us too. And she's taking a picture and they go, show it to them. Like they have to show it to me so I can approve it or something. And I'm looking just, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's my area. She's like, yeah, we try to not make it so it's, we want to make it somewhat PG-13. I go, that's neither. That's just a fucking mess. So, like, we're getting through the thicket here, okay? So, what was that movie? What was that? Don't mess with the Zohan? The Bush. I'm oversharing, and that's okay. I don't give a shit. It's so funny. Not that. It's the Bush. I'm way oversharing, and I apologize to everybody. But so I had this thing taken off of me, and they're going to biopsy it, and they'll let me know in about a month if there's any danger or anything I need to worry about. So other than that, I've had a sour stomach for a week, and I've been pooping like crazy. Haven't been able to keep any food in me very much, but things are going okay. Robin, welcome back. Dennis, thank you for joining. Dan, thank you for coming in. And of course, Mary. Yeah, here's the oversharing, kids. Everybody take a drink. All right, that's been the health update and the oversharing update too. All right, here we are again. So I did want to talk quickly about nothing political, nothing at all. I just want to quickly talk about my day today because after my appointment, I promised I would meet Sarah, my daughter, up in Burlington because she was having the battery in her phone replaced at the Apple store in Burlington. And, she could probably do this on her own, but I kind of like that she asked me to go with her because it gets me to spend a little bit of time with her. So I got up there right around the time of her appointment, but of course they were late taking her. And, the long and short of it is that I got to spend some real quality time with my daughter, and I couldn't have been more pleased about it. We got to chat, we got to laugh, we got to make, that look at each other like, what did you just say? Yeah. And we had such a great time, and I am so, I don't know what the word is, maybe just happy on the inside or very warm on the inside because I have to spend this time with her in a non kind of crazy environment, just hanging out. We had lunch together, and then we walked around the mall for a little bit and just chatted, and it was such a great afternoon. And I just wanted to share that these little moments in life can really mean a lot to us old folks. So any of you kids out there want to spend a couple hours with me, by all means, I'll hang out with you. I mean, I'll say you're my kid. No, just kidding. I had a great time, and that's really all I wanted to say was that my daughter and I had a great day. So with that, the theme for the show tonight is a day in the life. And Mark is not aware of this. He was not privy to this information prior to joining the show. I kind of shanghaied him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking to Mark about a day in the life of what he does, which is he is an actor, he's a comedian, he travels around doing corporate shows. He does a lot of different things. So I just want to kind of bring you into the world of what a day in the life of someone in this line of work does, because a lot of people think, oh, comedians, they work 15 minutes a night, half an hour a night, and then they're free and clear to do whatever they want the rest of the day. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not true, but we're going to find out with Mark right now. All right, hold on. Mark, are you there?
I am.
You are. Okay, we're
got
going to...
a green screen behind me.
Oh, why are you not showing your true greenage? Hold on a second.
Because it ain't easy being green.
Oh, that's weird that it didn't. Oh, that's me. Hold on a second. I'm going to change the camera to you. And then green screen your ass. There you go. You're a brick wall now.
Yeah, the brick makes sense.
Yep, now you're at the Improv. You've made it.
I've already played it. Oh, by the way, where on the doll were you touched? By the way, let's just put the we're in the doll.
I can't really show people because I don't have they can't.
I don't have a doll, so I had to do a little,
that's okay. You know where they touched me. You've been there.
Don't touch me there. Do you remember that song by the Fools?
I don't actually.
Don't touch me there. The Fools was a bad.
When I think about
really good
someone, I don't touch myself. All right, so Mark, you are here for the purpose of sharing a day in the life. So
I know. I didn't know that until I knew it.
Until you knew it. So I'm just going to do a little background with you because some of the people here have not had seen you on the show before. There's a lot of different people here than there were before. So I'll just have you go into a little...
Oh, sorry. No. That was, I was trying to mute, so you didn't hear any of this.
Okay.
Sorry.
So tell the folks about yourself.
I am a 35-year stand-up comic. I'm a 25-year actor. 35? 35. Oof. This month. July. Next month. 35 years, July. 25 years as an actor, filmmaker, director, writer, live performer, husband, brother, son, all that. You want to talk about funny, you talk about day in the life, and you're like, a lot of people say, oh, Mark, what'd you do today? And I'm like, well, this is like my schedule. In Easter, I'm the Easter Bunny, and people are like, I thought you're a comic. Yeah, I'm the Easter Bunny too. And I used to do promotion work. The people that stand outside at Dunkin' Donuts and go, hey, we're having a new promotion, free donut day. I used to do some of that. I did dinner theater. I do corporate events now where I do team building, and I used to do murder mystery shows all the time. And today I was a simulated patient in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Well, that's quite awesome. And we're going to cover all of that, but I would like to go a little back further. Okay.
We're
going to go back further. So
way back.
We're going into the way back machine. You were born and raised in Chelsea. Is that correct? Okay.
Yep.
And
born in Boston, Chelsea, yes.
Okay. And you have how many siblings?
Older sister, younger brother.
Okay. And your father was a character.
The meanest man on the planet, yes.
That's not true. He was a nice guy.
He got nicer as he got older, my father truly was the most vicious man in the place. He had let's just say he had no patience. He just definitely no patience.
Well, I think that's his generation had no patience. My father had no patience either.
Yeah.
So they were kind of in the same generation. I think your father was definitely a little older than my dad.
When was your dad born?
36.
My dad was 27, so yeah.
Oh, okay. It's just a couple years. But yeah, so I mean, I remember going over your house and listening to your dad, and he always had something to say. It's
always.
Like he always had something to say. But so you started comedy in 1990, July of 1990. And what was like your first, not your first night, because, don't want to go that deep, but like your first year how was that spent? Your first year of comedy?
The first few months of stand-up comedy were great. I mean, this is 1990, and the clubs were running. Well, clubs. There were venues that you could perform everywhere, 7 nights a week. You could do up to 3 shows a night, depending on where where you're from and how quickly you could get to things. So the first few months was killer. And then I hit this in a lot of times, comics don't really talk about this part. And almost everybody I've talked to has had the same moment. We do comedy for a few months and everything's going great. And then you have like one bad set that you weren't used to. And you're like, that's fine. I had a bad set. And then you have another and another, another. And now you can't, like I had like 2 weeks worth of bad sets. And I just went, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun. I don't want to take my ball. We'll go home. I don't like it. I don't like this place anymore. So, and I just kind of toughened it out. And I just went, well, what's not working? You just try to figure it out. And first of all, when I'm that young and that young in the business, it's, I don't want to do it. It hurts too much. I don't want to do it. Nobody likes me. And I want to be liked. That's all I want. And I kind of muscled through it and then figured out why I was having bad sets. And then I just kept doing it. So, but yeah, just after about 6 months or so, you get in a rhythm and, just keep writing. Just keep writing.
Yeah. And we met like a week into, you had already started, and we met a week afterwards after you started. I think it was, yeah. And, it's like that first night, I think we started talking that night. It was probably more in passing, but I think we spoke that night. But I think the following week, it was sort of like we got into a more detailed conversation, and then we exchanged numbers and realized we were both that new. And we just, like, from there, it just became like this, I don't want to say partnership because that came later, but I think there was a camaraderie of two new comics starting at roughly the same time, within a week of each other, and just being overwhelmed or just overjoyed that we were doing this, because it was something I know that you as a kid always wanted to do, and me as a kid, I always wanted to do, but I was a shy mofo, and I wasn't as pretty as I am now. So it was always something that I felt.
I was far prettier when I was started, and now.
Yeah.
See, I always think God compensates. That, look, you can be funny, you can be handsome or pretty, or you can be smart. And I went, can I be pretty and smart? They went, hey, get over there. You're in the wrong line, dude. You can be real smart and funny. And I went, I can't be pretty too. No, you can't have all three.
Yeah, you got to pick one from this. You got to pick one from this column, and you got to pick two from this column.
Yeah, you got to only pick that. That's why the Kardashians are so beautiful.
Nice. So
they can only count to 10 when they count each other. I'm like, I don't know why I have to.
As you moved on over the years, you started with, getting more gigs. And you're spreading yourself around, going to different states. You'd go to like New Hampshire and you drop in and do a set somewhere, or you go to like Florida or Texas or somewhere, and you just kind of walk in and say, "Hey, I'm a Boston comic. Can I get time?" Explain, how that shaped your comedy in a way, because did you have that personality just to walk into a place with the balls as big as brass balls, say, "Hey, I'm a Boston comic," or was it more of a "Hey, I'm a Boston comic and can I do some time"?
A little of both. Well, you're playing New England, and I was working mostly on the North Shore, so it was like Revere, Boston, Saugus, not too far, basically. Like it was mostly North Shore, and then started playing South Shore, and then the Cape, and then the cities and towns in Western Mass, and then Rhode Island eventually, and then New Hampshire and Maine. But New England is kind of just a big box, so everybody's about the same. And And because I was really new, I was like, oh, I'm doing all local stuff. I wonder if they're gonna get it. And some jokes got understood, and some jokes didn't. But as far as going to different states, it shaped everything. Like the reason I pronounce my name Scalia, and you know this story, but in New England, everybody pronounces R's and A's very different. So it was Scalia or Scala. You know, they would butcher my name. There's 6 letters and they still screw it up. But it would be Scalia. And then I started traveling and I started going out to the West Coast and Texas and I started playing different places. And I would be either doing comedy competitions or I was doing like showcase nights, and they would read my name off a paper and they go, okay, Mark Scalia. And they said Scalia because Antonin Scalia, the Supreme Court Justice, it's pronounced Scalia. That's the Italian pronunciation. So they weren't misspeaking. But after about the 15th time, I went, you know, I can't keep correcting everybody. So then I just went, you know, I'm going to pronounce it the Italian pronunciation. It's the difference between Carbone and Carboni.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. It's how do you want to pronounce, you know, Salvatore. It's kind of the same thing. And then when I started performing more here and occasionally, because I was doing more road work and less local work, then it was like, when'd you change your name? When'd you? Yeah, I'm like, I didn't change my name. I got out of the little box that New England is. So, you know, as far as going into different clubs, Boston's or at least it was. You can, if you do a year in Boston as a comic, it's like you doing 3 years somewhere else. And when I would go down to Florida, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to book myself an open mic. Why not? I'm used to booking open mics. There was a little bit of, I had a year, 2 years under my belt, so I was used to asking for work constantly. So that wasn't a difficult thing. But I never walked into a club and went, hey, I'm from Boston. Why don't you give me time? I would walk in on their open mic nights, like not a regular show. As a matter of fact, when I was in Dallas, was it Dallas? I think it was Houston. I was in Houston, and the comic I was staying with was hosting the improv in one of the improvs, and I didn't even ask for time because I'm like, well, you know, maybe all those, and I was like, nah, I'm not even gonna ask for time. You know, but I mean, this is 20 years ago, so that's like 15 years. But I never really felt like, oh, I'm from Boston, I'll just push my way into a stage. That's just not me in general. But I know a lot of guys that, you know, who aren't from Boston, and they show up and they go, hey, I'm a comic out of San Francisco, and I want to know if I can get some time. And they go like, dude, this is a Friday night. It don't work like that.
Yeah.
You don't walk into Boston and go, I'm from out of town, I want time.
Yeah, unless someone unless someone's vouching for you, like they're like one of the major headliners in Boston. Yeah, I got this friend from New York who's coming over. You know, gonna get him up and get him some time. That type of stuff.
Yeah, that's a little different. Yeah,
like a Phil Tagliaferri, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and that would be a little. Look, I work with this guy. Can just give him 5. Give him 5.
Give him 5. Yeah. Now, I found that playing out of state made me work harder at my material because my Boston material is my Boston material. But going to another state where they don't know shit about Boston, you find you have to get the local equivalent to make your joke work.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be still true? Like when you were just down in Florida last week or this week?
A month ago, yeah.
It
was Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. So do you? I mean, for these shows, do you find that you have to still find that, or do you? At this point, you're 37 plus years into the business. Do you just have an out-of-state set, if you will, or do you just take your normal material and just write? Normal material. And do you? Yeah, the only thing that you're probably not writing a lot of local stuff, really.
No. I at this point in where I am, I write jokes about me that I think in general people understand. I find that as I get older, I'll I'm more of a person, I guess. Well, it's just like everything else, life experience. When we started, I'm 22 years old. What am I doing? I'm going to bars. I'm drinking. I did a lot of jokes about drinking. I did a lot of jokes about meeting girls. I did a lot of jokes about dancing. And now I'm older, so I do jokes that I can, that I think everybody can understand. Like I did a graduation party for an 18-year-old 2 weeks ago at their house. And I did the same set I did last Saturday night at an 80-year-old's birthday party. So the material, and one was in Maine and one was in New Hampshire near Keene.
I didn't realize your career was taking off like that.
I know, I'm bragging. I know. And what am I doing here on a Tuesday? Fudge. Well, I did spend the day in Manchester as a symbol.
You did.
Well, so, but yeah, the only real stuff that I do local is when I go up to Canada, and I've been in Canada since the pandemic, and a lot of the Canadian clubs now are just trying to get locals. They're trying to really groom their own people, which I get, and that's perfect. But when I would go up there, literally the first 10 minutes of my act would be about how, Canadians are so different. And like I would start the set and I go, I'm from Boston, and in Montreal they boo you. Of course they do. It's Montreal. But like in Toronto or Ottawa or Calgary that I've performed at, I'm like, I kind of feel like it's my job as somebody who's not from this country and is a guest in your country. You may not know all the crazy stuff. You may not know how insane what you look like to other people. So I just basically I said, you're the nicest people on the planet. I said, everybody loves Canadians. I said, you can always tell a Canadian, because if you bump into them, they say, oh, I'm sorry. Not sorry, but sorry. And I go, if anybody's country should be apologizing, it's mine. So, and I said, North America is like a 3-deck apartment. I said, you were always looking at the floor going, what the hell is all that noise from? And all we're trying to do is try to keep the basement closed. So they laugh at that because that makes sense. And then I joke about their money, how they always change their money. Because when I first started going up there, they had dollar bills, and now they don't have dollar bills, and they have the dollar coins, and every $2 coin. Then they got rid of their pennies, and now all their money's made out of plastic. So literally for 10, 12 minutes, I'm just doing an observational sting about them and my experience that I've had with that. And I said, why is your money made out of plastic? And somebody raised their hand, they go, because it lasts longer. I said, what are you, insane? I said, you have more trees than Russia. I said, just print more money like my country does. It doesn't matter. So when the default is, I don't come across as like the angry American or the arrogant American. I come across as, you're just as ridiculous in a different way. And that's the human approach, and that's the only real place that I kind of do anything local. I think it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. No one could resist a stand-up comedy of this magnitude. Anyway. But I think, one, it's a crutch, and two, it's a double-edged sword, because if you start doing local stuff, then they're going to want you to really do a lot of it, and then you almost can't slide back into material sometimes.
Yeah.
And then like some guys do it real well, or some comics do it really well, where they do all this research about where they are and the local stuff, or maybe they had an experience. But if I'm visiting the same place, I may do stuff about the place because I've been there before. Like just the one, I just booked a show up in Smuggler's Notch, Vermont. I've been up there, I don't know, a bunch of times, 20, 30 times. And to get up there, you got to drive through the Notch. The Notch is this wavy thing, and it goes all, literally you have to be in first gear because you can't climb the hill. It's a grade like that. It's like it's a 15-degree, grade. And it's more of a 60 degree. It's a 60-degree grade, and that's going uphill. And then when you get up to the top of the hill, the road gets smaller and smaller. It's a 1-lane road. So when I'm there, and everybody has to drive through the Notch in the summer, the winter you can't because it's, of course, the winter and snow. And I just go, hey, everybody, how you doing? I said, I just got one thing to say. I drove through the notch to get here, and all I'm saying is you had the freaking dynamite. You had, because there's a giant boulder that's literally, they could have blown away and widened the whole thing. And as soon as I go, you had the dynamite. And they're like, so 150 people start laughing because they know exactly what I'm talking about. But I try not to do local stuff unless it's, I guess, called for. But I've seen too many people just go, oh, let me do local stuff for 20 minutes. And then you're like, okay, what else you got? What else you got?
So I'll tell you what else I got. So let's move forward to, let's talk about acting for a little bit. Okay. Because you've been doing that almost as long as comedy. What made the acting thing? What was the nucleus, the spark for the acting thing? What made that become? Is it that old adage that all comics want to be actors and all actors want to be singers and all singers want to be actors, and this vicious circle of wannabe?
Not for me. I know a lot of comics that people got into comedy so they eventually be an actor. And I wasn't one of those guys. And matter of fact, when I started acting, because I was just like, because I think somebody asked me to do some acting work and I wasn't good at it. I was terrible at it, to be honest with you. It was like a musical thing and I thought I could do it and I got locked up and blah, blah, blah. But when I first started acting, everybody's like, first of all, you're 32 or 31 and you've been doing comedy 10 years. Why are you doing acting now? And I said, because I wasn't ready. And that's the honest truth. It was just something I wanted to do. I wanted to be good at it. I thought I could be good at it. And turns out I was, I'll say was, because, I have my reel in the early stages I did much more work then.
Yeah.
And now it's harder because in the union, they say you can't do a lot of stuff without permission, and don't get me started on that. But I did a lot of stuff. I did plays and I did independent films and student films and workshops. I took everything because I just wanted to do it, but I just wasn't ready to do it. And matter of fact, when we had one of the classes was, okay, here's how you here's how you make a resume. And they went, do you know how to make a resume? I go, oh, what, like this? And they went, okay, yeah, this is what you want it to look like. And I was like, but yeah, I mean, and I'm in classes with like kids, like 13-year-olds and like 16-year-olds. And there was like one or two that was like 20, but I was the oldest, the oldest person in the classes. And it was really fun. And it's a very different thing. It's like driving a truck versus driving a Ferrari. A lot of it's the same, but there's some nuances that are different. You got to gauge stuff a little different, but the skill set was easily transferred. Mm-hmm. So I could do a lot of stuff that I just didn't know what it was called.
Now, as far as acting goes, now I know the answer to this question, but have you done any mainstream movies, like Hollywood movies, like that were filmed locally?
Yeah, I've done. Well, the funny thing is, when you start as an actor, you literally, there is not even a bottom. There's like a sub bottom. So you have to kind of go, and it's like the same way I started acting, the same way I started comedy, because I'm like, well, who is it? It's all networking, and now it's far easier with internet and social media and everything like that. But you had to join these groups. You had to pay to join the groups. You had to get papers. You had to get publications sent to you, and you kind of networked. So little by little, you find out where things are happening. So you do background work, and basically background work is, okay, you see this bottle? This is you for the day, and you're going to sit right there. but only for a minute. Then you're going to get up and you're going to walk over here. So that's background work. They just filler so that it seems like the thing's alive. So I did a ton of background work. And I was always like, I just wanted to be on set and just learn everything. But yeah, like I think the first real background, like I don't know, they filmed so many things here. I mean, Don't Look Up with DiCaprio during the pandemic. Before that, there was I got my SAG card by doing Pink Panther 2, and I'm in it twice as two different background characters, which that's true.
The story I love that you tell is, and I hope you'll tell it here, is the one with you and John Lithgow.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
Daddy's Home?
Daddy's Home 2. Yeah. I was a fan of Lithgow. I was a big fan of Lithgow for a while. And I was doing a lot of driving and comedy. I was doing a lot of gigs. I was in the car for like 2.5, 3, 4 hours at a time. And I used to love to read when I was a kid. And then I got older and I'm like, I have books, but I don't spend a lot of time sitting and reading. So my wife said, you should get audiobooks. So John Lithgow's book was at the library. It was called An Actor's Education. And I got it, CD, playing it. And I went to New York and I was listening to it. And his life story, that's just basically a life story. Fascinating guy. He talks about all the movies he was in, his whole thing, his family, how he got. And I thought it was fascinating. And I was like, oh, it's really cool. Life, what the world according to Garp with Robin Williams. So I became a fan of John Lithgow. And then he's on Daddy's Home 2. Now, I don't know what I'm doing. When they hire you for background, you don't know. So everybody's dressed like civilians and they go, you're going to be our mailman. Or you're going to be our security guy. They just randomly pick people who they think can fill the scene correctly. So I'm the mailman. I don't know anything about the scene at all. They don't tell you anything, your background. So there's a small set. There's like 15 of us, 10 of us, and we're at a residential neighborhood, and we're sitting in somebody's garage waiting for them to shoot. They use everybody except me. The last shot of the day, John Lithgow, it plays Will Ferrell's father in the sequel. I didn't know any of this until way later. In the way the movie is, John Lithgow, he was a mailman, and he's a retired mailman, but he gets in everybody's business. He's, very, assertive. So they go, okay, we need the mailman. The scene is John Lithgow and Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell come back from the airport. Lithgow sees a mailman, so he rushes to help him. I'm the mailman. So he walks out of frame like half a block away to help move a package. John Lithgow shows up. He goes, how are you? John Lithgow. I was like, it's very nice to meet you, sir. I said, I'm going to enjoy. He goes, we're doing a scene together, you and I? And I went, that's what I understand. The director comes over. The director's giving me direction what to do. He goes, you just can't talk, because if I talk, they got to pay me more. So they don't want me to talk. And it's so far away. It's like this thing, it's supposed to be blurred out. So I do a whole scene with John Lithgow, and to the point where he's like it's like a real acting scene and he's got so much presence. He goes, so, what's your name? And I went, and he goes, okay, we're going to go over there. It's a big box. So he's like, I'll help you. It's too big. I'll help you. Let's move it over here and let's go over here. And so he's asking, he's talking the whole time. And the whole thing is his character is like a busybody. So at the end he goes, okay, Carl, now you'll tell your wife, Claire, if you put that cream on, that rush will. Now he's walking back, and basically he's with me for 15 seconds. He learns my entire life story, and then he walks back. And they cut the whole fucking scene. It's not in the movie, but I did the whole scene. We did like 3 takes, literally 3 takes, and then a couple camera shots. They had 2 cameras, so they shot it 3 times. And I went back, and all the background actors are like, because I'm doing a scene with Lithgow.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and I go, God, I hope I get a bump. I said, I hope I get a bump is when they pay you a little more money. I said, I hope they, do something. I said, but even if they don't, I said, that was like one of the coolest things to do something like that. And the movie was terrible. But
Yeah. Well,
the scene that I was in that never made it was a lot of fun.
yeah. So I did post in the chat, and just we're gonna diverge. We're gonna detour for a second. One of our viewers, Dennis, just asked, "What's your favorite club to perform at?" And I'll say local and abroad.
Uh,
And if it doesn't exist anymore, that's okay. You can certainly.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do is I'll do it by region. Okay. In Boston, Nick's Comedy Stop is still the best club. Because I won't mention another club that was in Cambridge because I never did well there. But it was people that ran the clubs that was really good. So I would say Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston was probably the best club to do in Boston. The most fun club in Boston was the Vault. Was the Comedy Vault. Because anything, you could do whatever you wanted there, and the audiences were eating it up. I would say in New Hampshire for clubs, Headliners Comedy Club, Rob Steen runs North Shore Comedy Productions, and he's got like, I don't know, 80 rooms all over the country, and he runs a really, really fun thing. But his club up in Manchester is a lot of fun. I don't think I've had a bad, and Paul, you played there too. It was Crystals.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That's
Crystals.
how old it is. It was you went a club to another club and then it went away. Then it came back.
Yeah.
But I would say I would say in Maine, it was probably the original Connection at the Baker's Table. The Comedy Connection.
You mean it wasn't Orono, Exit 5?
What was that? John Martin's Manor?
Something in.
That was John. Oh, wait a minute. You're thinking of you're thinking of Rockport.
No, I'm thinking of Exit 5, Orono. I think wasn't at the University of Maine that we played?
It used to be Exit 50, and now it's like Exit 137 because they had to rechange.
Well, maybe
because
it was Exit, yeah.
It was Exit 50 because the way the highway is supposed to be, the exits are at the miles.
Right.
Only in New England was, and that's why they changed all the numbers, because they were going to lose federal money, because they were like, dude, you're like the only people who do this wrong. How can you do this wrong? But I would say the Portland Comedy Connection. But I mean, the Absolute Comedy Clubs up in Canada, the Toronto Club, the Ottawa, is it Ottawa? Yeah, Ottawa. No. Yeah, there's Toronto, Kingston, and Ottawa. Yeah. And the Ottawa Club is probably the best club. I mean, I love the Toronto Club, but Ottawa's just killer. So after 35 years, like, what's your favorite club? It's like, well, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's real tough.
So
but
he followed up his comment with, I used to go to Nick's all the time. Saw Dane Cook there when he was starting out.
Yeah. I've gotten over a lot of stuff. Dane started about, I think, 2 or 3 years after we did.
Yeah.
And he was still in an improv troupe at the time. And then the improv troupe wasn't making as much money. So they all individually wanted to start doing stand-up individually. And Al Dalbeni is actually in Sydney, Australia now. Bobby Kelly, who goes by Robert Kelly now, New York, and he travels nationally. And of course, Dane Cook is, Dane Cook. And he's actually doing a huge comeback now. He picked up a local guy, Drew Dunn, and he was opening for him. Now, Drew Dunn is like on fire. But yeah, I mean, Nick's was just the shit because it was 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
and you could see some of the.
It's a
I mean,
gorgeous room too for comedy.
it was just
Just
it was a comedy room from like the 80s, and the problem is it never changed. And then when it did, it it didn't change for the better. Like everything got different. Like I was just there, and I should say it's better now, but there was that. Remember that whole time it went through that whole transition where it was like they didn't care if it was a comedy club because they wanted a dance club.
they want
So
the
they were
dance
like,
thing.
okay,
Yeah.
this show gets over at 9:30 at like on the numbers because they needed a 15, 20-minute thing. And like we're on stage and the bartenders are swapping out and like these you would call them OnlyFan girls, OF girls at this point, but they come in and they're like wearing half of next to nothing, and it's like 20 degrees outside and they're not wearing coats. They come in and they're all hanging around. So now everybody in the audience is like having a good time. They're like, oh, that was fantastic. And then they go, get the fuck out. They were like throwing everybody out, you know. But Nick's
Yeah.
was like just the Monday night show with Billy Martin, the Tuesday night showcase, all the headliners that come out of there, the Frank Cinarelli, Kenny Rogerson, who I actually just worked with recently, Kevin Knox, Favorito, Steve Sweeney, Lenny Clark, all these guys. They were, I mean, you're talking about some of the most, I mean, and still just monsters.
Yeah.
I middled a show in North Andover at the China Blossom, and I was just in the middle, just doing 30 minutes. Mike Donovan went up, he's headlining, and I'm in the back, and I'm like, what have I been doing for 35 years? Just watching him. He's a monster.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers, the same thing. Just absolute monsters in the business. So, but yeah, that was Nick's. That was when everything was an empire.
I don't know if I ever told the story on this show, but one of the first nights, not one of the first nights, as in the first year I was doing comedy, I was hanging out with Rick Jenkins one night at Nick's.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we went over to Dominic's, and sitting there was Lenny Clark. So Rick goes over, hey, Lenny, how you doing? Oh, I'm great.
Yeah.
Come sit with me. So here I am sitting next to Lenny Clark, sitting right next to him because what's his name was, no, I'm sorry. I was sitting across from him, like directly across. And I'm sitting here, I'm going in the back of my mind, I'm going, that's freaking Lenny Clark.
Lenny Clark. He had the Fox show.
That's the Lenny Clark in front of me.
The Fox
and
show.
I'm sitting here talking to him. Yeah. And he's just like, Rick is introducing me to him, going, hey, this is Paul Kravitz. He's an up-and-comer. He's going to make it someday. Rick was drinking probably that night. No, I'm just kidding. Because I didn't make it. But he talked to me like I was like, he knew me for years.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Paul, where you from? I said, oh, I'm from Malden. Oh, Malden. Oh, we're just talking. And he was just so gracious. And so awesome to talk to, because a lot of comics aren't really like that. There not a lot of them will be that gracious. Like, I won't mention names because not that I'm burning any bridges, but there are some comics who you approach and they just are like, yeah, okay, how you doing?
The first time I met Lenny, it was at Giggles, and Lenny had his show. Lenny had the Fox Sunday night comedy show. It was Sunday Night Funnies, or he was like hosting a comedy show, and Lenny was a big dude at that time. Like Lenny's lost weight, gained weight, lost weight, but he looks great now. But he had the mullet. He had the mullet. We all did anyway. But and the same thing. I got a little starstruck, and I said, he goes, and he's just hanging out. And he goes, oh, this is Lenny Clark. But Lenny, this is Mark. He's going to be one of the comics on the show. I said, how are you, Mr. Clark? It's nice to meet you. And he goes, what's your name is? Hey, what's your name? I go, Mark. I go, Mark Scalia. And he goes, Marky, good to meet you. And like I knew him for 100 years. So every time I see Lenny, and I'm working with Lenny actually Friday night in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, and I did a show. Lenny and I, we did a show about, I don't know, 6 months ago, and he's doing an audition. So the first comic goes up in the middle. I'm in the middle, and Lenny's closing, and he goes, "Can you do me a favor?" He goes, "Here, take this." He hands me a script. He hands me a script because he's got to do an audition. So he goes, "It's sides." So I'm doing an audition. I'm reading an audition with Lenny Clark. Like if you tell somebody, they're like, "What did you do?" It's like, but yeah, he didn't think twice. He's like, and he's like, "But that's Lenny." Oh, I forgot to mention the time, like you mentioned Dominic's. It's guys like Greg Fitzsimmons as well, and Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan was at Nick's all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Joe, you should clean up your act. You should really not do a lot of this dirty stuff." And the first network he gets is ABC, which is Disney. He got the baseball show. Remember, he was one of the baseball guys. And then he got News Radio after that. But yeah, we were doing shows with Joe Rogan. And remember, we would go to Dominic's, and it would be like, I don't know, half a dozen comics. And Joe would be saying stuff that was off the hook funny.
Yeah.
We were falling over each other, just laughing and just making each other laugh. Todd Parker, Robbie Prince, just sitting around, but
just holding court, basically. Just
holding court.
Yeah, that's
and it didn't
and then
matter.
The writing sessions, we get together in
Yeah.
writing sessions with a different group of, it would seem like different people. I mean, you and I did a lot of writing sessions, but like we'd get like Mike Pryor and Bob Carney, and we did that improv night. Oh my God. The funniest.
To this day,
I
still don't have that footage, but man, you gotta digitize that footage. I know. If not, I got some mini DV. I still have an old.
No,
thing.
I think I actually digitized it at some point, but there was a night that
it was still on big tapes.
Oh yeah, it was on the VHS.
Yeah.
But it was an improv night that we did as a bunch of comics were at my apartment in Quincy, and we just I took out the video camera, I set it up, and we just did a whole bunch of improv exercises. Yeah. And it just got silly, but it was so damn funny. And time passed like crazy. It was like hours we were there.
Yeah.
And God,
it's still the funniest thing. It's Vinny's House of Tongue is still the funniest thing. and I was trying to do different characters, and I tried to be French, and it was terrible.
Oh.
And I said, and I go, that was your line. And I went, "Oh, but is it true? How does it did the whole mustache on a woman, is that attractive? Oh, but the French man, do you like find French men attractive?" And we'd blow takes. We would just completely blow like it. But yeah, it was that, we were kids and we didn't care. And
it was,
we were like, we were honing skills. It's like when you see, tiger cubs and bear cubs, and they kind of, playing around, they're practicing to kill. And now we're good at killing, but we're terrible at playing anymore.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to play anymore.
It's been such a, and I still try to, I walk by my wife every day, and she said something. You'll appreciate this. She's got this lotion, and it's a very expensive lotion.
Put the lotion in the basket.
It's very French. So she takes the lotion, and because it sticks to the side, she has it upside down, so it comes all the way down. So I'm in the bathroom, and I see this, and I come out, and I said, if you take hot water just boil hot water in a pot, and then put the lotion in the hot water, it'll loosen it up so that you can just pour it right out. It won't liquefy it. It'll just make it enough. And she goes, you just sound like that guy from Silence of the Lambs. And I went, and I go, did I? And she goes, do the whole thing. And I go, what you have to do is just boil some water. and then all the lotion will come out. And then you put the lotion in a basket and roast against the hose again. She goes, I go, put the lotion in the basket.
We say that at bowling all the time now. When someone gets a mark and they have to fill it on the next frame, the whole thing is put the lotion in the basket. I mean, you get a good fill,
I get your dog, mister. Let my dog go.
So we're running.
That's my stripper song, by the way. That's Wild Horses. That's my stripper song.
Nice.
You put it in post. Oh no, you do
Yeah,
your show completely live. You don't do a
I do.
post show.
I don't do a post. Um, moving forward, we're in the. I don't want to say we're in the latter years of our life because we're only in our
Yeah, we are. We're at
50s.
the back nine. Yeah,
We're
a little bit.
a little bit close to. We're at the turnaround. We're at the turn, really. But where do you see your career? Because you look at folks like Mike Donovan and Lenny and Steve Sweeney and stuff, and they're well into their 70s. They're in their 70s.
Yeah, Lenny's
and
almost 70. Mike Donovan.
and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
still doing their thing.
Yeah.
You're several years away from that. 10 plus
Yeah.
years, 12, maybe 15 years. What are you? 55?
50, 56.
56. So yeah. So you're
Yeah.
14 years away from that.
Mhm.
So where do you see your career going at this point? Is there anything new that you want to try? Or are you just going to stick with the status quo, do the comedy thing? We talked about doing a movie this summer, maybe, making one, but that, might become something else. What do you feel? What do you think might be on the
Well,
horizon, if
the-
anything different?
actually the truth is now that comedy has changed so much, and I used to think this 10 years ago, and I think it even more now. It's about it's about young and hustling. And for most of the comics that are out there now, they don't know what they're doing, but neither did we, but we figured it out quicker, I think, than a lot of comics. But I've done pretty much everything I want to do. My thing is I want to stop doing it. I actually want to retire. I think like I take a lot of gigs nobody's going to gun in my head clearly, but I take a lot of gigs because I have to. And I want to get to the point where I can take what I want because I want to. I'm never going to stop doing stand up. I mean, I'll literally have to be infirm before I stop doing the job. But all the other stuff, the simulated patient, the private birthday parties, I don't think I would be doing much of that as much. The goal literally for me would be start teaching. I do not have children, so when I go, everything that I've done, everything I know kind of disappears unless it's videotaped somewhere. So what I want to do is I want to give. That's why when I was teaching filmmaking and I was teaching stand up and I was doing workshops, that was a ton of fun. And that's super rewarding. It's like a slow burn. It's like hot coals over a fire. Stand up is one of these things, you go, it's like an acetylene torch. When I was a kid, it was like getting it moving. And now it's like, and it works.
Yeah.
And now I'm to the point where I don't want to start the fire anymore. I just want the coals. I want to stand over the coals and I
Feel
want
the
them to
warmth
warm
of the
me.
coals, and
That's it.
yeah.
And then I want to die in the cold with the fire at the same time. But I think teaching, is always teaching, and that I can do into my 80s if I make it. But I've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I've made my own films. I've directed my own films. I've been an actor in a bunch of films. Other than, I don't have I've done 3,000, 4,000 seat venues. I've been on stage with some of the funniest people on the planet. I've worked with some of the most talented people. I've been in movies. So there's really no, I wish there was like this, if I do this, I got this. And to me, it's about being happy. And I wish when I was a kid, it was like, I got to do this. Like, this is just the thing. I was on Facebook randomly today, clearing the bubbles because just clearing the bubbles, can't take the bubbles, the notification. And there's a club. Then there's an agent in a club up in Maine, and I saw one of the comics working for them. I'm like, and comics are, you know the meme with the cat and the housewives,
Yeah.
the meme
Yeah.
thing. That's the way comics think in general. Like, why is he working? Who's booking that person? And you have that voice. I don't care how long you've been in the business, but you keep going. Why is that person booked? How did this happen? And then I just went, I'm going to reach out to the club. And then they message me back. I'll be there in November. And, I mean, if I want something, I just kind of get it at this point. So, but I think, a steady teaching job into retirement is probably the direction that I would want to go, because I want to give some of it back.
Yeah.
And as I get older as a person, like the 80th birthday party, I was genuinely appreciative that somebody in their 80s hired me, a total stranger, to kind of tell jokes, not even roast people. Like I would zing a couple people here and there, but in jest. But yeah, there's no real. And the thing I think the thing about entertainment in general, there is no end game, and some people kind of reach all the time and never get it. And my thing is, I want to make the world spin a little better, spin a little faster, and have fun. That's it.
I got a comment, and then I have my last question for you.
Shoot.
The comment is, this interview feature on my software has worked the whole night. That is something that has never happened since I've had this software, that the interview function worked all night perfectly.
Perfect.
So, yay.
Yay that.
Last question for you, and it's just a single word with a question mark after it.
Mm-hmm.
Regrets?
Yeah, and I actually just had this conversation with somebody the other day. I wish that this is a New England thing. It's our generational thing. I wish I had a little less fear when I started. That's it.
Yeah.
And I wish I was a little bit more aggressive. I was very aggressive, but I still had a lot of fear in follow-up. Like, just, and that's it. But if I undo that piece, I pull the thread out of the sweater, and then so it's one of these things that if I had done it, I wouldn't be where I am, and everything I am wouldn't exist. So I try to, in general, I don't have a lot of regrets at all, personally. And I think some people might say, well, you just justify all your choices. I go, yeah, that's how you live without regret. You justify every choice you make. As long as you justify it, it will never be a regret. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just wish I had a little less fear, and I wish I followed up. And because the fear held me back, it stuck me in a while, and I was in kind of just a circle pattern. I was still getting good. It was like a concentric circle, so it was getting a little bigger every time, but I was still in a circle. I wasn't going up. I was going around and a little up, around and a little up. Yeah. Because, I should have been headlining at 10 years in, and I didn't start headlining until I was about 14 years in, which, because I got really good at hosting for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And then I went, and you're hosting, piece of cake. You're doing 10 minutes up front. They're nice and warm. You do them a time between, it's stuff in between. That's it. You wrap the show. You're done. It was easy. And it wasn't challenging. And I didn't write stuff for a long time. But then I started headlining. And I'm like, okay, I got to change. I got to write. I got to do this. And I got a ton of stuff. But yeah, it was, if there was any regret, it would be, I wish I had a little bit less fear. So, or I should have got out of this business and tried something else. And because now I'm unqualified to do anything. I'm done.
You could probably still do survey work.
Yeah, I'd love to be out in the survey world again. I haven't done survey in 20 years. The technology is far exceeded. Like, they have one-person stations now. Everything's GPS. They don't need me. Yeah. They don't need me at all. They used to need a dumb guy to hold the end of the stick. And I'm like, they don't even need the dumb guy anymore.
Hey, wait, that was my job.
Nah.
I held the stick.
You did.
You had the gun. I held the stick.
You held the stick. Yeah. Then the chief had to hold the stick because the dumb guy was pushing the buttons. Now it's a total. Anyway. Yeah. What about you? You asked me a ton of questions. I didn't ask you anything. What about?
That's how this works.
Yeah.
You're the guest. Okay. I'm the interviewer. No, you want to ask me a question? Ask me a question.
Do you ever not regret, but do you, I mean, I know you've tried to do stand up once in a while, but do you regret not doing it as much as you used to?
There are days, yes,
Yeah.
that I go back to, my Seattle years, which is where I stopped doing comedy at a little place called Moscow, Idaho. And
A good room for me.
it
That's how
wasn't
comics
so good for
communicate, by
me.
the way, folks.
Although my best moth story came from that show, from an Idaho show. And
Were you in the Moth Hour? Did you?
no,
do a
I
Moth
wasn't. But the story that I would have told in the Moth Hour would have come from an Idaho event that happened out there. And maybe I'll save that for another week because
I love that. First of all, it's folks, if you do not know, comics love when other comics do terribly. And if they do well, we have to take them down a notch. And that's the problem with being Gen X and the time we comic I just worked with them, had a great set on stage. Just like it was at a theater, like 300 people. Comes off stage, wow, the crowd's insane. I walk right by me. He goes, wow, they're fun fire. I go, don't worry, you get them next time. But that's what comics do. So if Paul's like, this is the worst show I've had, I'm like, go on. Twirling my little mustache at the time.
I think that if I had taken some better notes, if you will, when I was first starting out, and better work acumen when I was first starting out, instead of sort of thinking in my brain that it was easy to write jokes, because that's where my mindset was, is that this was easy. It wasn't hard until it became hard. And by that time, I was already like, well, fudge.
Yeah.
And I think that I didn't try hard enough when I was in it. And then when I got out of it, I was like, ugh. But then I started doing the radio thing out in Seattle, and that sort of grabbed a hold of me and said, okay, this works better for me being on radio because I'm still trying to entertain a crowd, if you will. But in my mind, I'm talking to one person.
One person, yeah.
So that way I'm not in front of a crowd of people trying to make everybody laugh. I'm just having a conversation with one person.
Yeah.
But then there were times when I would get back on stage, after I stopped doing it. This was out in Seattle. I went on stage and I just crashed and burned because I still hadn't learned how to do, the setup punch and the presence on stage. My presence on stage, I always felt was lacking. Like I was a little too nervous for my own good. I'd always get the shot of Southern Comfort, which kind of put me at ease. But then I stopped doing that because, alcohol, So I don't know. I just found that I wish, that was my regret, is that I just wish I took it more seriously than.
Well, you know what my turning point was? Since you mentioned that, I just thought of it. And you and I have known each other for a long time. So you knew my ex-fiance and the ups and downs that whole relationship went through on, faults on both sides and just compatibility issues. But the thing that sticks out, and this is one of the best things, after we had broken up the first time,
There were several.
Yeah. And this I think just before you moved in, and I got my new furniture, and I literally had to buy all new furniture because it was all hers. And it's like 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I got to work the next day. And I'm like, I want to go to the gym. And it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm on the phone because we were still talking. And she said, and a lot of people won't understand this until I explain. She said, when are you going to stop doing this comedy thing? And I'm 25, 26, testosteroned up. And I'm like, I'm never going to fucking stop doing this. I'm going to do this the rest of my life. I'm going to die doing this. I'm going to die on stage doing this. I'm not, screaming. And then she went, no, like I meant, then why don't you just do it? And I went, I am doing it. She goes, No. Is it a hobby or is it a job? What are you doing? And that's the conversation. And at the time, I was totally bent out of shape. And then at that time, I, you know, wait a minute, this all makes sense now. You know, after the rocket leaves and all the dust settles, you're like, oh, I know what I should have done. So it was that moment I went, she's right. I may not have heard it right, or she may not have said it right, but she was right. And it's like, that's the moment that you're talking about, that you know, say didn't take it serious. I was in it because I loved doing it, but
Yeah.
I didn't see it as more. And then when I went, I don't want to work days anymore. I want to travel. I want to do this. And then when I quit my day job, I went from making like, and this is back in what, 2000, like 2002, 2000, yeah, 2002 or 2003. I went from making 60 grand to 16. And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And then the next year I made 25, and the next year I made 28, and then next, you know, so little by little, you know, and now, I mean, I make a living at it. It's bought my house, it's bought my cars, it's gotten this, that, and the other thing. But it's that moment that's probably the one moment that made me see it as a real thing. Like, not only I was good at it and I could have fun doing it, but it was also, you know, because you were very good at it. You were very good at it. You didn't see your, yeah. You, just like when you say I didn't have the confidence, that's what I mean. It's still, you were good at it. I mean, you can't compare yourself. I mean, Jesus Christ, we had Joe Rogan on the stage in front of us. We had Bill Burr. And folks, if you listen at home, we're old enough to know when Bill Burr wasn't even funny on stage. Believe it or not, we all got booed off stage, including Bill Burr. Not anymore, but, you know, that's like all of us.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, we were talking about these kind of powerhouses all the time, so it's hard to lose. And then, of course, when comics zing you a little bit, if there's any point of weakness, it breaks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I honestly, too, I mean, part of my not my downfall, but part of the thing that kind of put me in a space of not feeling adequate enough was a certain comic who said he was my mentor, but just didn't quite fulfill that promise, you know, because it was one step up and two steps back sometimes, you know.
Well, that was, and that was on them.
Yeah,
That's
I know, but
their
at the
own
time,
securities they had, I know. But that comic, and it's still that way.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's, you know, everybody's great, but I have to be the best.
Right.
But, you know, I don't know if you know where they are right now.
I don't.
No, nobody does. Nobody. That's the point.
That's awful.
That's awful. And you and I are on YouTube on a Tuesday night having a good time.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And people may or may not be looking for that particular person at this time. Like, not civilians, clearly, but we have a following on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. And meanwhile, it's like, I have to have no digital footprint whatsoever. This is not good. I don't know if it's that bad. I know at one point it was. But,
yeah, I know at one point it was too.
Yeah.
But moving on. Moving on. But yeah, I mean, that too, plus, you know, my dad dying when he did kind of did a number on me, because I should have turned a lot of that pain into comedy, and I didn't. You know, I didn't turn that. Like, I just watched Sarah Silverman's stand-up stand-up special she has on Netflix. It's all about her dad and her stepmom who passed away back in 2023. And the whole thing is about him. And I didn't see all of it. My wife was watching it, and I kind of saw like maybe half, if not maybe a third of it. But it was very bittersweet, but there was a lot of comedy in there. A lot of, a lot of laugh out loud moments, but it was just very well done in that it was very heartfelt, and it was funny, and it was also poignant. And it was just a really great stand-up special that had serious overtones or undertones, I should say. And it was
Is that
really.
something you'd like to do?
What's that?
Is that something you'd like to do?
No, not now. I'm just saying back then when it was happening, I think I would have liked to have turned some of that pain into comedy. And I just, again, the not taking it so seriously, my life became very serious, and I just forgot really how to do comedy to my fullest extent. So, I mean, that was 1991. I moved to Seattle in the beginning of 93. So I went through 92. You know, my father died. I got laid off in March the following year.
All the changes happened at the same time.
Yeah. So it just, it seemed like, oh, wow, now I'm free to do whatever I want. You know, I could do comedy, and I had this severance package that I was living off of, but I wasn't making really any money in comedy.
No,
so,
we weren't. I think the first year in comedy, I made $52.
Yeah.
And 10 of that was a contest that was a 5-way split. But it was like, here's the gas money, 25. And I had to chase some of that money too in the early days.
Yeah. So,
dude, you know the thing. If you ever want to, I mean, here's the theory, and I'm going to say this on broadcast, and I'll tell everybody, if it's like we talk about the film I want to do, it's already written. But if you see something like that and you're like, man, I mean, maybe you could. And the thing is, we're older now. So yes, folks, you do get more wise as you get older. I didn't think that was a thing, but it's totally, yeah, it is. I'm kind of I used to be a wise ass. Now I'm just wise. I dropped the ass part. I'm not as big as an ass as I used to be when I was a kid. But if you wanted to go, I want to write this out. First of all, you're a really good writer. And then, I would help you, give you, and not about the comedy, but the support, the fun part, I mean, I coach comics all the time. And the first thing is confidence. It's, do you know that you did this? It's for filmmaking too. It's like it's all right to not know. It's all right to, like, the simulated patient thing today. 2 girls came in, and basically I have to pretend I've just come from their occupational therapist. So they have to help me put my shoes on, get up out of the chair, put on my pants. I was wearing regular pants anyway, just in case my wife is listening. And these girls were very young. I mean, they were probably 20s anyway. So, but I'm to the point where I don't even see
crank caller.
I really. YouTube has no restrictions. Anyway, we're gonna get flagged on this video. But she came up. She's like this. Hi, and I'm here to help you. And then because I acted more like a patient. She acted more like an occupational therapist. And then she goes, do you have any comments? And I said, do you remember when you started and you were very nervous? And I said, then the nervousness went away. I said, because you weren't thinking about being nervous. You were just thinking about doing the job. You were genuinely connecting, genuinely trying to help me. And I think everybody needs that moment. I mean, that's why I try to do my comedy. I'm trying to make people laugh, but I'm trying to make people smile.
Yeah.
That's if you smile, I got you, because I can make you laugh eventually. But if I can make you smile, then it means you're listening and you're part of it. So if you write your thing and go, oh, it's not funny, and I'll look at you and go, Paul, of course it's funny. Let's hear me, and then we'll,
I think I'm old enough to know that I think the comedy ship has sailed. I really feel that I probably would never step on a stage again.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. The earth would have to move in such a way. The earth would have to move in such a way. I mean,
well, it's flat, so I don't understand how it's going to move at all. I mean, that's what I believe anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, no politics.
Then that's for the better, Mark. That's for the better. I can roll tape from the last time you were on where we got into politics.
No, I'm teasing about flat Earth is what I'm doing.
I know you are.
Teasing about that. But yeah.
That son of a bitch Johnson.
You know
That's
who ruined
Lyndon
this
B.
guy?
Johnson, by the way.
Andrew Jackson was the thing. He was the linchpin. You know, before Taft really put a whole wrench in this whole monkey.
Ulysses S. Grant was a bastard. Yes.
Aaron Burr didn't shoot fast enough. See, we should do that. We should talk about those politics. That would be hysterical. I remember Tommy Jefferson, and he went by Tommy. A lot of people don't know that. He went by Tommy, according to the books, his Declaration of Independence. But Tommy Jefferson liked to wear a lot of what the kids would call stockings at this point. We didn't judge him. I mean, we were all doing it.
Tommy loved his wigs.
Tommy loved his wigs.
Oh my God, he loved his wigs.
Powdered or
Look
not.
at me. I got a new wig today. Oh, that's great, Tommy. Great. Oh, look, Abraham
that's
Lincoln's
the politics
back.
of the day. That's what we're talking about. But yeah, if you ever wanted to do, I mean, you know, if you say you don't want to, that's fine. But I would hate for you to have to say that. I'd
rather build this thing up. Be honest with you. I'd rather focus my energies on this versus something that I've already done, and quite frankly, you know. This is what I want to, you know, because this I can do from the comfort of my own home. I don't have to go out and deal with the moodiness and the looks of younger comics.
Oh, fuck them.
Like I don't want to feel like the Randy look of, you know, we were in our early 20s and Randy Look was in his 40s, and he's like, you're an old fuck, you know, at the time. You know, now I'm looking at it like I'm 50 some odd years old, and I'm like, God damn, that would make him like 70s.
Well, you know what's funny? I'm on the show Saturday night in a Gunquit, and the two guys on the show, there's Will Noonan, who is maybe he's turning 40. Like he's been doing comedy for a long time. So he's maybe in his 40s. And then I think Dan Crone, is it Dan? I think it's Dan Crone. I'm not sure, but they're both young, and I'm in the middle, I think. And I'll just, in any case, but
well, you just have to make it hard for them to follow you.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just, I just have fun, man. But yeah, I go to open mic nights, and especially in Salem, there's an open mic everywhere, and none of it is good. And we played some open mic places, and some of the comics weren't good, but the comics that weren't good did the same material all the time, and they never got good. And that's what's happening now. It's like so I come in, like if I walk in a room, I'm the big brother, and I just go, guys, whatever you're doing, stop. It's not working. Write a joke. They're doing, and none of them are.
What are they doing?
I don't know. It could be going. It could be going like that. I don't know. But they're filthy. They're fucking filthy. And I'm like, I thought the Gen Xers. Well, no, the Gen is it? No, what is it? Gen. No, we're Gen X. They're not millennials. The next one down.
Gen Z.
Gen Z. I thought if you're Gen Z, you're not supposed to make fun of everybody, and you're supposed to. They're filthy. They're just, they're filthy and offensive. And I'm like, how are you both? That's a skill set.
Yeah, no,
I'm like, you're racist and you're vulgar and I'm not a prude by any stretch. Christ. I mean, some of the stuff we would do was very off color. We were in the 90s, and we were talking about stuff that was completely socially acceptable at the time, but not over the top filthy. And then if they were filthy, they got filtered out. But man, yeah, you wouldn't be the old guy. There's a few people that are older than me still.
Yeah.
not
many,
much.
But I'm sure there are a few.
Not many. Some of them.
So yeah. I mean, it's, there are times, and Jen can attest to this. There are times where I'll stop and I'll be like, I'll see something like a comic talking or doing a thing, and I'll go, and she'll look at me and she'll be like, "You miss it, huh?" And it's like,
Yeah.
I do say, I can't say I miss it, and I do, but just the idea of going back on, say, like when I did your birthday roast, I had such trouble coming up with material for that. And what I came up with, I thought was kind of, I'm not going to say it was brilliant, but I'm going to say I thought it was kind of funny in that I knew nobody there. I knew none of the other comics.
Oh, you
so I
ripped
just
them.
came up and I just came in and just had a bunch of responses to all these comics.
Yeah.
And none of them had anything to do with them. I just read off these random things. I try to get their names or whatever. And I was like, you, dude, that was your sister. Just dumb things
it's like when
that.
we roasted. It's like when we roasted Ralphie J, and all these comics, and Drew Dunn, who is now super big across the country. He was there, and I went on, like, I'm the last act for the roast, and I went through everybody, and I said, Drew Dunn, so funny, unbelievable. When his other testicle drops, he's going to be one of the funniest guys. And I go, I'm kidding. He's had some work done. So, it's like you just zing and you don't know anybody, but it's like, we were a different kind of roast. Like we were the zinging kind of roast, like the Dean Martin kind of roast. Now you watch roast and they're like Kill. Yeah. Like I watch Kill Tony, and he's funny because he's funny in a brutal way of you need thicker skin to get through this, and you should have some. He's actually doing a good thing because he's making them be self-aware.
Yeah.
That if they're bad, if you're bad, you need to be told you're bad. You just do. And if you're good, you need to be told you're good. It's just like children. It's just like any people. And, but when you did the roast, you even though, like, I didn't know there was standby. I thought that was off the cuff. I'm like, man, he's snapping right back at him. These are great.
Yeah. So I think,
then
moving
write
forward.
For there you go. Right.
Yeah. I would like to write this show from start to finish, and I'd like to make it very entertaining in many ways, and I'd like to cover a lot of different subjects. So, and once I hire a writer, it's not me. No.
Right.
But looking at the time, I think I'm going to cut this just because we are losing bodies are dropping left and right.
Let the bodies hit.
It's like it's like the long Good Friday over here.
Long Good Friday. Wow, that's
a reference.
That's not offensive at all.
What? It was a gangster movie from the 1980s with Bob Hoskins.
That was the Long Good Friday?
The Long Good Friday. It was about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, I believe it was.
Oh, I thought you were referencing either Good
Jesus
Friday
Christ thing? No.
Or Long Goodbye.
Oh, The Long Goodbye with Samuel.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson and Gina
Davis.
Davis, yeah.
Yes. Mark, I want to thank you for being my guest this evening and going over time with me. To everyone that was here, I do thank every one of you for coming in. I will be back next week. I'm going to confirm. I have to still confirm, but next week is most likely my live from Salem show, and we will have a band playing. I will advertise it as soon as I confirm the band, because we haven't talked in a little bit, but we will confirm. And I want to thank, again, everyone for sticking around till the end. If you have any thoughts, comments, anecdotes for myself, for Mark, keep them to yourself.
No. And you can follow me on my website, markscalia.com. I got my calendar. There's some of my movie clips I'm putting back up there, which are called blips. And so you can see me in You can see me in very famous movies as Walking By. I don't know if you know that character.
Man in Back. And Mark, I mean, we can't go deep into this, but Mark does have his own show on Wednesday nights that he broadcasts from his Facebook page. It is Radio Irregardless. Very well put together show. Much more show prep than I have ever done on all of my shows combined. And
I learned from you. In the in Sound Bites.
That's the Sound Bites days. Yeah, I did do a lot of show prep back then. Yeah. But if you're ever interested, you can find Mark on Facebook as Mark Scalia. And hell, friend request him if you want. Follow his show. Is your show public? Do you put it in as public?
Yes.
When you broadcast it? Okay.
Yeah, and anybody can see it, even if they're not a member. They could just friend me, or they could just find it if they're just a member. Whatever.
Just look up Mark Scalia on Facebook, and if you don't want to friend him because you have enough friends up to here, you can just watch his show.
If you don't watch the live show, you can all listen to the podcast, because my live show is basically edited down to audio, and it's just a podcast. So
yeah, there you go. Which I will never do. I will always keep mine video. This doesn't work without this.
Oh, I know, the moneymaker has got to be.
I'm so pretty.
My show's been the other way. My show went from audio to video, but it hasn't made the full circle.
Yeah, I'm sticking with YouTube for as best I can. A means to an end.
Just a means to an end. But Paul, thanks for having me, man. Show. It's great catching up with you, and I hope the little whatever they took off your Netherlands comes back, and they just go, just a scab. It was a scab.
Oh, this was no scab.
Did you scab? Are you scratching a lot? Did you?
It was like a hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime doll. Oh no, not again. Okay. Spaceballs. All right, man. Well, thank you again. Love you like a brother. And we will catch you next time here on the Paul Report. Let me see if I can find my... Oh, there it is. End credits. Bye-bye. We could talk. We could talk over the credits.
All right.
We can talk over the credits.
That's cool. Scan the code.
Scan the code, buddy.
But if they're watching, I've never understood the scan the code. If they're watching it on their phone, they can't scan the code.
Well, I mean, no.
That's why. That's why I don't have a QR code on my thing.
I was like, take a screenshot of it.
Oh.
But then again, how are you going to scan it?
Can't scan a screenshot.
Can't.
You could, but you'd have to have a second device.
You need another device.
You need many devices.
So I'm thinking maybe it just, if you're watching from your PC, that's where I was dealing with on that.
Oh, understood.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna end this thing, and we will talk soon.
All right, babe.
All right, thanks, my brother.
Appreciate it. Be well. Keep me posted on the health thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right, talk soon.
The other one. Yeah.
What's that?
I swapped off my phone back to my webcam.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
All right, ma'am.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.